Hey guys, it's Sarah Lewis from Mixed Fitness, aka the Uncool Trainer. Today we are talking about 2 stretches that make your posture worse. So a lot of my clients are interested in improving their posture, and I want to talk about some things that you could be doing that could be hindering your progress, and that is stretching. Everyone thinks that stretching is the panacea, that stretching will fix everything. And you have to know the right stretches to do for the right muscles in order for stretching to be effective. If you are stretching a weak muscle, you're going to make it weaker. And that's not good. We don't want to perpetuate weak muscles in the body. So, I've talked about this a lot before, and I have YouTube videos on stretching your upper back, but I'm going to cover it again because it just always seems to come up when I'm talking with clients. So if you're worried about this rounding hunchback posture, if you take a look at my ear over my shoulder, your chin should be back and you should have a line that runs right down your shoulder. And I have a blog that has a picture of this that you can go back and reference. But if your head is forward of your shoulder joint here, so if you're in this type of position, okay, just again, look at where my ear is in relation to my shoulder. If your ear is forward of your shoulder, then you're starting to get that rounded hunchback position. And that means that those upper back muscles are on a permanent stretch. Okay, if you work at a desk like this all day, those muscles are being stretched for as long as you're sitting at your desk. So how many hours a day is that? Driving your car, it's a compounding effect. So if you think, man, I'm so tight and I need to stretch, so you do this guy, or you do this stretch, or you do this stretch. All of those stretches are stretching an already stretched muscle. It does not make sense to stretch an already stretched muscle. It's not going to solve anything. It's going to perpetuate the pain or the problem or the instability, whatever is going on back there. So please, if you are a seated office desk jockey, please do not do those stretches for your upper back. I can do tests to figure out if those muscles on your back are functioning weak or if they're functioning strong. And the majority of people that I test, those muscles in between your shoulder blades are functionally weak, meaning that your brain is not connected to those muscles. Your brain doesn't even know how to access those muscles. So the weakness is so great that even body weight resistance exercises are going to help strengthen those muscles. So let me show you a picture because I'm all about educating you guys about your muscles. Okay, so here is your trapezius muscle. All right, now it's got a lot of fibers. So you have these upper fibers here, which tend to be hyperactive or strong, okay? But the muscles that I'm referring to that are weak are these more middle fibers here, okay? So you can kind of see how that's in between your shoulder blade and your spine. And then you have these lower fibers down here, make sure I'm getting that in the picture, that tend to be weak as well. So those upper fibers, you can carry a lot of stress and those can be tight, and those, if you feel like you need to stretch, those can be stretched, okay? But the middle fibers and those lower fibers are typically functionally weak, all right? And that's on a neurological basis. Now this trapezius muscle here also has a matching side, okay? It's just not showing in this picture, but think of that muscle as looking pretty much like a diamond on your upper back. Okay, so if you're feeling tightness, chronic tightness up here, you can do this stretch to stretch those upper fibers. Okay, that can be an appropriate one if those upper fibers do happen to be hyperactive, which is common, but again, I would want to test it to make sure. Okay, but as a general recommendation, you can stretch the upper fibers by doing this, but please, again, stay away from the stretches where you're rounding your shoulder blades forward, okay, because those middle fibers, those lower fibers of your trapezius tend to be weak, and again, we do not want to stretch an already weak muscle. Okay, so that covers the upper body. Now, the lower body, the stretch that I typically want you to avoid is actually a hamstring stretch, which you may think that's crazy, but a hamstring stretch is almost often inappropriate because of the way our pelvis is tilted. And again, if you've been following me for a long time, I talk about anterior pelvic tilt a lot. And that just means that let me get my sweatshirt up here, that your pelvis is tipped forward like that. Now I'm over exaggerating here, okay, but when you tip your pelvis forward like that, your hamstrings are on a stretch. So what I want you to do, if you haven't seen my videos of how to check for anterior pelvic tilt, just stand against a wall, put your head, shoulder blades, and tailbone against the wall, and your heels can be slightly forward from the wall, so your heels don't have to be touching. And then all you're doing is sliding a hand behind your lower back to see how much space is back there. So if you can slide, pretend I'm behind my back, if you can slide up to about your knuckles on your spine, and that's as far as it goes, then you probably have a fairly neutral pelvis. But if you can get your whole arm through, like if you're seeing your fingers here on the opposite side, then you have an anterior pelvic tilt. There's too much space in your lower back, and your vertebrae are compressed, your sacroiliac joint can be compressed, and your pelvis is tipped forward, and your hamstrings are resting in an already lengthened position. So they may feel tight, they may feel tight, but do not stretch them because they are tight, because they are stretched. If you stretch a weak muscle, it's going to stay weak, okay? So I want you to avoid toe touch hamstring stretches or laying on your back with one leg lifted, those types of hamstring stretches if you have an anterior pelvic tilt. So please do that test. It takes you all of 10 seconds against a wall to see how much space is back there. If you can get past your knuckles up to your spine, if you can get your knuckles past your spine, then please don't do a hamstring stretch. You actually need to strengthen your hamstrings, all right? So as I'm learning this new neurokinetic therapy protocol, I can test and see what muscles are functioning, which muscles are weak, which muscles are overactive. So if you're interested in learning more about your body and how to make it function properly, please contact me and we will get an appointment set up, and it'll be eye-opening for you to determine whether you need massages or self-myofascial release with the tennis balls, or whether you need to stretch. Maybe what you're doing is right. Maybe what you're doing is perpetuating the problem. So I urge you to get tested. And if you're watching this from outside of my Western Loudoun area, go to neurokinetictherapy.com and find a practitioner who can test you. And they're all over the globe, and we can find out what's actually going on in your body. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, and I will see you next time.